So let's cast this first. Oh, opponent! Yes! We got there in the end. 54 life. Nice. Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back with our mini-series on the channel with how viable is Control in the historic meta. But before that, I just have a few quick channel updates for anyone who hasn't seen it already. Just to let you know, I upload a new video every single day. On Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, we're currently playing his standard and historic. So always something new to check out, be that Grixis Energy, Esper Doom Foretold, Scoot Swarm, Landfall. There's tons of different things we're playing. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are continuing with our mini-series on the channel with how viable is Control in the historic meta, and we're currently doing that today. We've gone over Jeskai, Azorius, Esper, Grixis, we've got Dimir coming up. We've even done Bant, which we played Felidar Retreat in, so different Control lists. If you're interested in Control, then come and check that out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's tons of that. And if you don't like Constructed at all, let's say you prefer limited and drafting, then have I got news for you. Every single weekend, all weekend, we're going to be drafting. So 2 or 3 different draft videos to check out then. And drafting's definitely one of my favorite things to do in Magic. So I love doing that. So I've saved every weekend for drafting. And if you guys want to interact with me live, then head over to Twitch, Radio Magic, and you can check me out streaming. Haven't streamed in a little bit, but I'm starting to pick it up a bit more since YouTube's getting a bit bigger. And yeah, I love interacting with people as well, so it's really fun to hear what you guys are playing in historic, maybe any mad limited lists you've had recently, or to simply come and hang out. Let me know how your day's been and what you've been up to. But yeah, on to the deck tech for the list. So Jeskai Cycling. This is a viewer submitted deck, which means I haven't built it myself. I have kept the main deck exactly the same and changed a few cards out of the sideboard, but this is a different take on Jeskai Control, and I guess this is called Jeskai Cycling Control. Really good Control list. I really like it. Not something I've initially thought of putting together, but pairing Zenith Flare with Control seems like a really good pairing, and I'll go on to that a little bit more in a minute as to why I believe so. But the list is built around Zerda the Dawnwaker, which is a companion, 3 mana, 3/3 elemental fox, and each permanent card in your starting deck has to have an activated ability. So this can be cycling, can be planeswalkers, whatever. It just has to have an activated ability. And then abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate, but this can't reduce the mana cost below 1. So cycling is a ability that you can use. So our Triome, for example, only costs 1 mana to cycle with the Dawnwaker out, which is pretty interesting interaction. So Dawn, I'll call it Zerda, but Zerda has a few interesting little things that we have to worry about when building her. So we need to make sure that all of our permanents have activated abilities. So this means Teferi is in and Narset is out, but typical sideboard pieces like Grafdigger's Cage is no-go. We cannot play that because it does not have an activated ability. You'll see in the sideboard that we do have Soul Guide Lanterns instead, so a bit of sideboard hate in case that has an activated ability, so we can bring this in and keep Zerda as our companion. So if you guys have just taken a look at the sideboard, you know what all of these cards do, you know what Control's trying to do, and you get a rough idea from looking at the deck here, then go down into the description now and check out the timestamps, and you'll be able to see each game when we play them. Don't worry, there's no spoilers, so you can go check them out, and you can skip over the deck tech. But for people who don't know what Control is and doesn't know what this deck's trying to do, and maybe some of the niche little corner fringe bits, then stay tuned. I'm going to go over the cards one by one and you can check them out. So on the 2-drop slot, we have Sensors, 2 mana counterspell, or we can cycle it for 1. Pretty bog standard. It's going to power up our Zenith Flare in the late game, or early game we can counter something relevant. We're then running 2 Narsets. Narset has an activated ability that is not a mana ability, so she is okay with Zerda. Good stack effect, kind of necessary against Sultai at the moment, and really good in the mirror matchup or any sort of control matchup that's trying to outgrind us. You can also find our key threats like Zenith Flare and Shark Typhoon. Our counterspell of choice, since we do need counterspells when we're running Control, is Neutralize, a counterspell that can also be cycled. So if we don't want to counterspell because we're against aggro or something we just don't have time at the moment, or we have nothing better to do on turn 2, then we can cycle our Neutralize away. It also helps power up our Zenith Flare quite a bit. You're going to hear me say that quite a lot, and it's going to get a little bit repetitive even during the games, but it is worth it. Powering up Zenith Flare is an actual thing. We're then running, instead of Deafening Clarions, running Sweltering Suns. Essentially a Deafening Clarion. Normally in control, you don't care about the life link, but Sweltering Suns is pretty good because it can be cycled away. So in the mirror matchups, or maybe like Sultai, I'm going to bring that up a little bit as well. Sultai's running rampant at the moment, I feel. Or Colourless combo. Deafening Clarion / Sweltering Suns isn't too good game one, and we'd normally board them out, but this gives us a way to cycle them away when they're just no good and find a relevant spell for that matchup. So pretty good board wipe that also has some really strong synergy with the rest of the list. We're then running 4 Cast Out as our removal spell that can be cycled for 1. So if it's in our opening hand, then yeah, we can cycle this away and get something new. Running 2 Wrath of Gods. Ideally, I'd like to run 4 of this, but I can see why this makes sense. We're running a 3rd and 4th copy of a board wipe in the sideboard, which isn't Wrath of God. We'll see it in a minute. But yeah, this is essentially board wipe 5 and 6, so we've got this and Sweltering Suns as well. Works out quite well. Most control lists need some form of board wipes, and I like the unconditional nature of this above Sweltering Suns. But it doesn't have cycling, which is the downside, but you got to make a few concessions here and there. We're then running Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Essentially, it's just a 1-mana cycler. This is kind of like a worse version of Opt, but in the late game, we can cast it for 4 mana. It still powers up our Zenith Flare because it goes to the graveyard, and we get to sort of gain a bit of card advantage above our opponent. This is really good in the mirror matchup, since normally in control lists, you don't have enough slots to run your 4-mana draw, whether it's the Jumpstart one, the Hieroglyphic Illuminations, whatever you might be running, because your opponent might be running Narset, so you just need enough answers. But with Zenith Flare and the 1-mana ability on Hieroglyphic Illuminations, it really allows us to get this extra slot and sort of beats out some of the other options that might be available. And then we have the all-star in the list with Zenith Flare, a 4-mana instant that deals X damage to any target, and we gain X life, where X is the number of cycling ability cards in our graveyard. So lands count as that as well. So we're running 4 Irrigated Farmlands and 4 Triomes, since there are any options, and Zenith Flare powers up quite a bit. So one of the problems Control typically has is closing the game. Sometimes you can outgrind your opponent, you have 7 cards in hand and they have 1, but sometimes you can't beat their last card. You only have a limited amount of answers to what they've got. You've gone through all your answers already. Well, Zenith Flare is the way to give it the 1-2 punch. We can smack our opponent for 11 in their end step and then smack them again for 12 or 11 in our turn, and normally that's enough to lock it away. If it's not, we're comfortably normally sitting at 30-35 life, so we have quite a buffer after that. Zenith Flare is outstanding, and as it was pointed out by the viewer that submitted this as well, there's some really nifty things you can do with this. You can play Zenith Flare game 1, smash your opponent with it, and then when they bring in sideboard hate to tackle on the Zenith Flare, we can just board these out. The really good bit about this list above other cycling lists is because it's merged with Control, we don't rest entirely on the Zenith Flare. The Zenith Flare is good, and it's definitely a really strong win con, and I try to not board it out wherever possible just because it's so powerful, even if your opponent has graveyard hate. But it's always an option. If they're bringing in Rest in Peace, for example, we can just board these Zenith Flares out and make our, essentially them sideboard cards your opponent's bringing in just completely dead against you, and you're left with a more than optimal control list, especially after boarding. And what control list would be complete without Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, 5-mana Planeswalker that draws you cards, removes any permanent, non-land permanent, or wins you the game with his ultimate. Pretty bog standard. In any Azorius-based control list, I'm running some number of Teferis. He's just outstanding, yeah. One thing that we're not running in this list because it is a restriction of Zerda is ECD, Elspeth Conquers Death. We can't run this because it does not have an activated ability. So one thing we are missing out on in the list is Elspeth Conquers Death. We'll see how we feel about that running through the games, but one thing I have noted, especially in the last game we played in Esper on last Thursday, was ECD I feel like it's falling off a little bit. It's still exceptionally powerful, but I have limited myself to 1 in the main and 1 in the board at the moment. So we'll see if we actually miss it that much, because this could be something moving forward that ECD just is not necessary, though I'm still going to say it is an extremely powerful card. We're then running 4 Shark Typhoons. This is, if Zenith Flare was not quick enough to close the game, then Shark Typhoon certainly will close the door real quick. 6-mana enchantment that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get an XX blue shark creature token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. There's something oddly satisfying than Shark Typhooning. In your opponent's end step, you get to cast Zenith Flare, ping your opponent for like 12, create a 4/4 shark, and then smack in, and that's 16 damage out of nowhere. If you have the second Zenith Flare in hand, that's just going to wreck your opponent quite fast. But normally we're going to use the other mode on this, the cycling mode, because it's just free. Essentially, it takes up a bit of mana. We have to sink a little bit of mana into that, but it doesn't cost us a card. And we can cycle it for 1 blue and 1 an X, and then we create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. I don't know why the sharks have flying. With X is how much mana we sunk into it. So multiple win conditions in the list. We're either winning with Shark Typhoon, Teferi, or Zenith Flare. So plenty of ways to lock the game away. In terms of the mana basis, we're running all of the cycling lands that we can run in this list with Irrigated Farmland and Triome. And then we're just running some shocks and checks. Moving on to the sideboard, the viewer that submitted the list submitted a slightly different sideboard. I have changed it up a little bit, and I'll explain my rationale for that in a minute. So one thing I am embarrassed to say is I originally didn't run the Soul Guide Lanterns. I ran the other bit of sideboard hate, the... what's it called? The 1-drop. I'll pop it up on screen at the moment because I can't remember it at the moment. And then I realized after playing 3 games that Zerda, it doesn't work with Zerda, so we couldn't sideboard it in, or we'd have to remove her as our companion. So I went back to the drawing board and added that in. So you'll notice in the first few games that we don't have Soul Guide Lanterns in there. So forgive me for that, but we did go and put them back in. We're then running, this is just our sideboard hate for our graveyard matchups against Luris, Pyromancer, Uros if we need to bring them in as well. We're then running for control some Dobbin's Vetoes. We're then running, this is something that I added in, some Justice Strikes. I was a bit concerned that we don't have any sort of interaction against early aggro lists when we need some form of removal early. So Sweltering Suns and Wrath of God is our main form of interaction. We have Zenith Flare to sort of catch us back up and gain some life, but I kind of wanted a little bit more removal. Originally, I think the Justice Strikes weren't in here, and the Settle the Wreckages weren't in here, and the Sinister Sabotages weren't, and there were 4 Absorbs instead. So the reason I've chose to run Sinister Sabotage instead of Absorb is because I feel like if we're boarding in the counter spells, we're not going to need them in the aggro matchup. I don't feel myself boarding in absorbs in aggro. We're going to be boarding in counter spells against the mirror matchup or grindy matchups. So I thought Sinister Sabotage might have a bit more utility above absorb with the Surveil on there. I then decided to cut 2 of them absorbs and play 2 Settle the Wreckages as well. Settle the Wreckage is our board wipe 6 and 7. Yeah, 7 and 8, sorry. It's also, instead of running Wrath of Gods, I decided with Settle the Wreckages just as some like different utility. There are some matchups where Wrath of God just isn't good enough and we really want that Settle the Wreckage. Maybe it's against Auras, which Wrath of God is just awful against, and Settle's really good. Against Uros, Settle might be quite good as well, just some real utility. Then there's 2 Dream Trawlers as well. Dream Trawler, excellent at closing the game. Sometimes we're going to want this. For some lists, Dream Trawler is just impossible for our opponent to answer, with it having hexproof and it gains so much life each turn. Against aggro, this is normally what we're playing. Other options are like Baneslayer Angel, or you could go back quite a bit to like Lyra Dawnbringer. Haven't seen her pop up quite a bit. And then we're running a 1 of Narset. I can't remember if the viewer put in the Narset in the board or not, if that's something that I'm adding in. But essentially, I think Sultai is so big at the moment that we want this stack ability. The only reason I'm running the extra Narset is for each opponent can't draw more than 1 card a turn. Really need this effect against Uros and Hydroid Crasises. So yeah, Narset is pretty mad at shutting that down. But that is the list. I'm really thankful for someone submitting this. This is not something that I have considered doing before, Jeskai cycling, but from playing the list, I had so much fun playing this, and I think this is exceptionally powerful. So hats off to you, sir, for putting together a really good list. I'm going to just shut up there. We'll get onto some games, see how it does, and we'll come back at the end with a wrap-up. Okay, Jeskai Cycling Control on the play, and yeah, we have a 1-lander with 2 cycling cards that can hopefully get us there, but it's probably just worth mulliganing this away. Trying to get a little bit more consistent, and yeah, I think I prefer this. Going to keep this. Probably put Teferi on the bottom. A little bit away. We've got 2 cycling cards. Fill up for this Zenith Flare. Okay, Watery Grave for our opponent. So this is probably a hand we'd really like to hit an untapped land next turn for neutralize, but this is probably a hand where we just keep cycling and then Zenith Flare does something. Okay, what's our opponent on? Sultai. Okay, so land is great. Get to hold up neutralize now. If not, we probably won't cast this, won't cycle this Hieroglyphic Illuminations. We'll hold it for next turn, since it's quite close to drawing 2 from it. Yeah, opponent can have an Uro. So I think I'm going to cycle this Irrigated Farmland now, since we already have our land for next turn. So it could be looking like a Nissa next turn. Sultai, definitely a tough matchup. We're going to hope that Zenith Flare is able to get us there. Just cycle a load of our cards away. And a Narset might be the key, since Hydroid Krasis is quite difficult to beat. But we'll see. But if we can take down Sultai, that's a good sign that the deck it's got some legs. See if our opponent wants to counter the Hieroglyphic Illuminations. I think it's a win if they do. If not, we get to draw some cards. And one of the advantages of cycling, definitely, is that like cards like Sweltering Suns, while dead, board wipes like Deafening Clarion, Sweltering Suns can just be cycled away. And you're actually gaining some extra value over just the extra card, because it's powering up the Zenith Flare as we go. So we have options this turn. We can like neutralize and cycle, or just cycle. We've got a few things we can do. Okay, Uro, I think we're going to allow this. Okay, probably just casting another Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Just draw some more cards, try and outvalue our opponent. They're ramping, let's try and get some card advantage on the go. Gonna cycle this Sensor so we can try and hit another land drop after next turn. Yeah, Plains is great. So yeah, just gonna keep passing the turn with our like counter spells up. Plan on cycling these Sweltering Suns away. Yeah, third Uru for our opponent. That's fine. So far, all we've done is cast Hieroglyphic Illuminations and cycle, and all our opponent's done is cast Uros. Let's see, our opponent hasn't really hit any hand hate yet. So just double cycle here looks good. This is a hand that really wants a new perspectives in it. We're going to cycle as well. We're going to cycle these Sweltering Suns before this Triome. Not like a Narset. Opponent likely has a removal spell, but Narsets, we can hold up neutralize at the same time. And if our opponent removes Narset, then at least we get some value from it. I think Cast Out's good. And we're going to play a Triome out, so we still want to hit our land drops. And we have plenty of things to cycle. And do you know what? Zenith Flare in a few turns is just going to be lethal. Scratch that. Zenith Flare in 2 turns is going to be lethal. Wow, control, but able to pack the 1-2 punch with double Zenith Flare. So we'll see, but if our opponent taps down here, we could just cycle, and then double shoot with Zenith Flare. That is a real possibility. And it looks like our opponent might. I wonder if we do want to neutralize this, though. I think we do. Since our opponent could still have hand hate. And I don't feel like letting the Nissa resolve. Because if our opponent has hand hate, then the Zenith Flare plan sort of falls apart quite quickly. We'll see if we get punished. They might have like a negate here. Nope. I feel good about countering the Nissa. Opponent just wants the extra card in their graveyard. I understand, opponent. But exiling Uro might not be too good. Okay, so Zenith Flare is for 8 at the moment, so 8-16. Good game, opponent. Love it. Control, but we can knock you out in a moment's notice with double Zenith Flare. God, it feels like a useful tool against Sultai. So, sideboarding against Sultai, what do we want? I think we want this Narset, and we want our counter magic. It's probably where we want to be at. Get rid of these Sweltering Suns and Wrath of Gods. But yeah, Zenith Flare felt really strong there. What do we want to bring in? We got one more card to bring in. Maybe just a cycling card, just to make Zenith Flare stronger, or Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler's pretty good. Let's bring in the Dream Trawler. Okay, game 2 against Sultai Control, and yeah, this hand looks okay. We're probably going to play one of our Triumphs out and then hold the other to cycle, and we have some counter spells to hold our opponent at bay. We'll see how much graveyard hate they bring in, but the best thing about this list is the Zenith Flare is just a side bit. The real plan is the control. If our opponent brings in a ton of graveyard hate, we might just cut the Zenith Flares next turn. But opponent is shocking. Maybe holding up Negate here. We're going to hold up Censor. And Dovin's Veto. Probably cycle this cast out. Yeah, just going to cycle this. Just dig towards our Zenith Flares. Probably hold on to the Censor. I like playing out one of these irrigated farmlands, I guess. Or maybe we just play... let's just shock. It allows us to hold up Neutralize. We can also cycle this Triome if we want to. Opponent's missing land drops. Fortunately, we have an abundance of land drops, but another good reason to be in cycling is that all of our cards cycle. So, yeah. Let's we'll play one of these out. But yeah, Zenith Flare, again, going to be powered up, and maybe we can just 16 our opponent out of nowhere. Opponent's missing land drops. Let's cycle. I'm going to proceed to hit our land drops here. Yeah, and Zenith Flare is powering up. I don't really think we want to tap down, but yeah, we'll shock again. And maybe just cycle one of these neutralizers. Opponent's sort of pressured to do something for us. Do we cycle one? I think we do, because Zenith Flare just gets better. And Sultai might be able to win the late game. But we're just going to keep cycling and cycling. Yeah, and counter spells feel good. So we're going to put our opponent in a position where they kind of have to do something here. So our opponent does. If they counter the Narset, I don't think we're going to fight over it. I think we're just going to let that resolve. Yeah, I think we're just going to let that happen. Just want to run our opponent out of counter magic, I think. And considering we have like triple counter spell, we're going to try and defend this Teferi instead. Opponent's got nothing. So I think we're cycling here. Nice. So yeah, we are at the 1-2 punch range again as well with Zenith Flare. And we might just run back last turn. Or we could play Teferi with Dovin's Veto. An opponent needs double counterspell. Could play Narset with Sinister Sabotage. I think I like Narset and then Zenith Flare in our opponent's end step. And then if our opponent counters that, then we can just Teferi. So we're going to try and get some value here. Yeah, maybe just take the counterspell. We can cycle it while holding up Veto. But our opponent's missed quite a few land drops, unfortunately. I assume they're sitting with like a handful of answers. But Narset's going to make their life a little bit more difficult. No more Uros to help draw out of it. Okay, so opponent chose just not to lay a land drop last turn. Because they wanted to cycle Triome. Not sure why that is. But yeah, so far, Jeskai cycling feels pretty strong. Feels like leaning heavily on the cycling is good. We're going to attempt to Zenith Flare here. If our opponent does not counter this, though, they are dead. Since we get to untap with Zenith Flare and counter spell up. Opponent kind of has to stop this. But then they also have Narset and Teferi to contend with, so pretty threatening. Yeah, opponent's got to... Yeah, we'll take action and put that on top. And let's take down. Shark Typhoon looks okay. So I think we just pass here, and if our opponent taps down, then yeah, they're dead. We're going to attempt to Zenith Flare, hold up Counterspell, and then on our turn, we'll Zenith Flare again with Counterspell up. And yeah, not the typical way you win with control, but definitely good. Feels like we're sort of mopping the floor with Sultai a little bit. They're missing quite a few land drops, but we've missed a few as well. Yeah, Four.Vs. Can you stop Four.Vs? Maybe. Could double Zenith Flare in response. We'll see if our opponent wants to fight over this. They do not. Though, it looks like they might have a negate or something. So these are currently 9. There'll be 10 when Shark Typhoon's in the graveyard. So yeah, let's make these Zenith Flares 10/10s. Dream Trawler as well feels pretty strong. So get in for our 2 first. And yeah, probably just gonna ship it back again. No reason to rush. We've just got a handful of gas, really. Nissa, is that our opponent tapping down? I feel like you just made a mistake, opponent. Zenith Flare. Wow. Opponent missed quite a few land drops, but presumably they had a handful of answers, so yeah, Jeskai cycling, pretty strong. Okay, Jeskai cycling in Historic, and yeah, I like this hand. We get to cycle on 1, cycle on 2, cycle into Shark Typhoon, hopefully find a Zenith Flare to close away the game really quickly. If not, then Teferi or Narset will do. But yeah, we have more Shark Typhoons. We'll be able to find ways to close the game. If not, we'll infinitely counter our opponent's spells until they concede. Probably just get down Irrigated Farmland. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just take a turn off. Probably cycle this other cast out. So our opponent's on. Maybe like Rogues? Mindstone, okay. Maybe we want to hold... No, we'll cycle cast out. Probably holding this Irrigated Farmland to cycle. Just want more cycling cards in the graveyard. But yeah, probably counter here maybe. Maybe cycle Shark Typhoon and hold Hieroglyphic Illuminations for next turn. We could just cycle Irrigated Farmland. See what our opponent's up to though. They're getting their ramp game on. Yeah, probably just cycle the land here. I'd rather make a 2/2 or 3/2, a 2/2 or 3/3 Shark. Just feels like it adds a lot more pressure. And our opponent's got to have like a Fatal Push or something. Might just cast a Hieroglyphic Illuminations here. See how our opponent's up to. We've just been cycling so far. Oh, nice. Yeah, we'll let our opponent have this. Always counter what they play. Oh, got to disallow. So they could disallow a Shark. But I think we're winning if they're disallowing the Shark. Okay, so maybe just cast Hieroglyphic Illuminations here. And then we're like Shark into Shark. Don't think our opponent wants to let this resolve. Yep. Wrath of God, not that good. So probably just making a 2/2 here. Could always put our companion into our hand as well. I mean, 3 mana, 3/3, pretty happy with it. Pretty much just 3 mana, 3/3, no text. I mean, unless we want to make some of our sharks unblockable. So our opponent's got another Mind Stone. Okay, so maybe Dimir Control with like ramp. Ooh, Scarab God. So probably got to counter this. We could Wrath it away on our turn, but they get it back again. So yeah, let's just counter Scarab God. And this gives us an opportunity to resolve a Shark Typhoon. So yeah, we'll just get that down. Waste no time. I feel like that was a good turn for us. See if our opponent can answer it. Maybe like Ashiok bounce. That'd be pretty bad. No, opponent's just going to draw a little bit. Maybe they're looking for the Ashiok. And looks like they may not have found it. So probably just shock and pass. I don't mind about losing the life, and we might want the extra mana. It gives us the opportunity to Illuminations into a counterspell. And Illuminations, 4 mana, draw 2, create a 4/4 flyer. Pretty good. And yeah, if all goes well, we'll just put our companion into our hand and go from there. But well, we got 5 cycling cards, so Zenith Flare is currently for 5 damage. Pretty happy with that. But yeah, Shark Typhoon is going to be difficult to beat. I feel like our opponent tapping down for the Scarab God last turn wasn't the best play. Yeah, opponent, are you going to counter this? They do have 6 cards in hand. But we have an active Shark Typhoon. Oh, nice. They get to bounce our Shark Typhoon. What are they going to do? No, they're going to bounce our Shark, counter the spell, and then they'll draw a card? Sure. So we might just resolve another Shark Typhoon here. Could resolve it to Fairy. I think we just resolve another Shark Typhoon. So we get to make a 6/6 as well. And Dimir, not the best at answering enchantments. Like I said, they have Ashiok and Sublime Epiphany, but with 2 Shark Typhoons in play, that's going to be tough. And yeah, we can just cast a Fairy next turn. If our opponent counters it, we still get 2 5/5s out of the deal. I assume our opponent's running like Extinction Event or Languish. Hopefully it's Languish. We haven't seen anything yet. Torrential Gearhulk into Sublime Epiphany, I suppose. Maybe bounce Shark, draw a card. Make another Torrential Gearhulk and cast Vision. Seems good. We get to resolve our Teferi here. Okay, opponent's just going to bounce a Shark Typhoon. Maybe Zenith Flare is going to be really good here. So, do we want to board wipe? Probably not, since we can't do anything else this turn. We could cycle Shark Typhoon. I think I just like hit them for 6. Play Shark Typhoon. And then we can eat one of these Torrential Gearhulks if they attack in. If not, our opponent's looking pretty dead in a few turns. So I think the problem was they tapped down for Scarab God, which allowed us to gain some advantage with Shark Typhoon. And then they tapped down again, allowing us to resolve the second Shark Typhoon. So our opponent's under quite a bit of pressure, hence the Torrential Gearhulk play to answer this. And we're sitting like we have counter spells up. Opponent has Fatal Push, so taking 10 here. So maybe in a little bit of trouble. We'll see. Opponent has their own Shark Typhoon. And Fatal Push would be really bad. Opponent has the Fatal Push. So fortunately we have the Wrath. So really hoping to top deck land here. And land it is. So yeah. So we Wrath of God. We lose both of our Sharks. And then we just play Teferi, make 2 5/5s, and tuck their Shark Typhoon. And hopefully we can get there. Maybe the Companion's really going to help here. Just pick up Companion, play it, 6 mana. Doesn't trigger Shark Typhoon. Oh, that's really risky. Opponent's going to take some damage here. Maybe they have another Fatal Push. Dimir. Opponent doesn't really want to go into white for Teferi. Opponent has an Eliminate. Nice. So we get to untap Teferi, which is always good. So we're literally like a Zenith Flare away from winning here. So let's just cycle. Cast out. Does that do anything for us? I think we're okay to cycle still. Shark Typhoon is nice. I think we're just going to attack for 5. And cast out in the end step. Opponent's pressured to do something. If not, I guess we can just Shark Typhoon. 4/4 will win it as well. Opponent's just going to pass. Yeah, let's cycle, make a 4/4. You sort of push us, opponent, to do something. And the longer Teferi sits out, the better. And every cycle brings us closer to Zenith Flare. We have 4 of them. Our opponent hasn't seen it yet. Ideally, we can win without using a Zenith Flare. Maybe it won't be on our opponent's radar. Narset's nice. Okay, so let's tick up. If our opponent didn't want to do anything then, they're probably going to allow... Oh, Zenith Flare. Yeah, we'll make 2 more. So let's see if our opponent lets us down tick, because getting a counter spell here might be better. Sensor's probably not too good. Let's just grab Hieroglyphic Illuminations and go to combat. Like I said, don't want to show the Zenith Flare if we don't have to. But I will just kill our opponent here if we need to. Okay, so our opponent's making an 8/8. So we can just cast this out. Make 2 more 4/4s. Yeah, opponent's going to scoop it up there. So didn't end up showing our opponent the Zenith Flare, so pretty happy about that. So definitely can keep it in. But yeah, let's just bring our control matchup bits in. And hopefully we're going to mop the floor. Opponent has Torrential Gear Hulk's going to take these out. So cut 1 more card. Maybe just like Sensor. Just trim a Sensor. The rest of it just is everything we want in control. Okay, so game 2 against Dimir Control with Jeskai Cycling Control, and this hand looks okay if this was a white source, so we could cycle these cast outs, but probably going to have to mulligan this. This hand looks a bit better. Double Zenith Flare is disappointing, probably going to put 1 of them on the bottom. Lands are just good against control. We just want to hit our land drops and hold on to these irrigated farmlands, maybe play 1 of them out. I think I'm going to hold on to both of them. I think I just like powering up Zenith Flare. Unfortunately, we don't really have a way to shuffle our library, so this is going to be stuck on the bottom. Looks like our opponent had no turn 1 Four.Vs, turn 2 Four.Vs. They are just cycling a Fetid Pulse. We're just going to cycle here as well. Counterspell was nice. So it's like there's quite a high chance that our opponent has senses of their own. Mind Stone, that's fine. So got to play around that. Opponent's ramping ahead of us. Are we just cycling here? Yeah. We definitely need to hit our land drop, so we can't cycle all of our lands away. But we can definitely cycle some of them. Opponent's playing a lot of pathways. Want that dual mana. I think just going to make a 1-1 here. Like I said, just like powering up Zenith Flare. And due to like the sort of nature of this list, I reckon our opponent probably kept in like Fatal Pushes. Especially since we won the game with Shark Typhoon. So our opponent might have quite a few dead cards. Not going to tap down into a counterspell for our opponent. But we are going to hold up Neutralize and Veto. And put our opponent on a 20 turn clock. Also, our opponent's running the Scarab God. And I saw Torrential Gearhulk from them, but nothing else really. And we're running 0 creatures apart from our companion. So Scarab God not great against us. And I think when you're running a Scarab God list, you really do need to take advantage of it yourself. Are we cycling a Neutralize? Probably not. Can't be that aggressive. And this Shark may not look like a lot, because it really isn't a lot. But this Zenith Flare, every point of damage is getting us closer and closer to shooting our opponent. So, yeah, opponent can take it for a few more turns, but it will start to stack up eventually. And we have some pretty potent threats. Opponent's going to draw 3 and then discard 2. And they do have a Mind Stone, so we're seeing some synergy coming in here. So they won't have to discard. They'll just 3 mana draw 3 here. Probably want to stop this. Don't really want our opponent drawing this. I don't know if we'll counter back here. Probably. I think it's a mistake letting our opponent draw 3 cards. Opponent's a Mystical Dispute. So probably going to veto. Maybe should have just died with the veto, really. Yeah, I don't think letting our opponent draw them cards is useful. And if our opponent wants to do something now, like tap down to play a Scarab God, then I think we're happy with that, since we get to play Teferi. I'm just going to play a Narset. Nice. So we can just kill... Oh, they missed. Not going to waste any time with hitting this Narset. So probably just going to play Triome out and pass the turn. I guess if our plan is to Zenith Flare, we can't put Companion in hand. I guess we could just put Companion in hand, play Companion. I don't think our plan is to Zenith Flare the Narset. So I think we're just going to put this into our hand and then play it next turn. Get to hold up Neutralize still. And if our opponent does something, we counter, they counter our thing. Then we get to resolve a Teferi or Dream Trawler. But Pretty happy about our opponent just sacrificing the Narset here since they missed on the first one. And yeah, we're definitely going to fight over this Narset. Force our opponent to counter now. Yes. So let's see if our opponent hits like a negate or something here. We can play around with a sensor. Yes, opponent has sensor. We can play around that. And think we just play the Dream Trawler. Playing Dream Trawler. Maybe we play Teferi actually. Teferi, Tuck, Narset. If we play Teferi, we can also... No, I guess we still want to play lands out, don't we? Oh, opponent kept in Essence Scatter. We have no creatures. Okay, opponent, sure. We don't run any creatures apart from Dream Trawlers in the board. Maybe our opponent like anticipated Torrential Gearhulks. But yeah, we run no creatures, so maybe our opponent like ran out of sideboard slots. Didn't really know what to bring in. Doesn't know how to tackle Jeskai cycling. Or maybe they thought guaranteed we can hit the companion with it. I don't know what opponent's logic is. But I'd be happy if they sacrificed their Narset here, yeah. I'm happy just to trade the card since it sort of opens up the door to Teferi. Not when they have a disallow in hand. We have quite a few counter spells left. Let's just smack our opponent for 1. And I think we're just going to play out Zerda here. And get ready to Hieroglyphic Illuminations. We can also play around Sensor. We just need to lower our opponent's life total just a little bit more. And then the Zenith Flare will be lethal. Yeah, they're going to cycle that way. Probably a good shout. But yeah, this Shark has done work. So, killed off 2 Narsets now. And pinged our opponent a little bit. Nice. Opponent has a Shark Typhoon holding up Disallow. So probably want to do this now. So if opponent wants to disallow, then they won't get the Shark. Nice. Oh, and Zenith Flare is good. Guess we can just cycle here, make this Zenith Flare bigger. Having the companion down's pretty good, making our cycling costs a lot cheaper. Okay. Fortunately, this is still 1 blue though. It's just normal abilities. Just the colourless generic mana. So I wonder if we just pass here and we do. We could Teferi. Our opponent like definitely disallows. And then what, we get to hit our opponent for 7. Or we could just pass the turn, double Zenith Flare. I guess we could have Teferied and then censored the disallow and like tuck the Shark Typhoon. But I think I still like just double Zenith Flare here. Let's cycle first. Oh, wow, yeah, triple Zenith Flare is going to hopefully be enough to lock this away. So, opponent needs triple counterspell here. Yep. So, opponent gets 1. I think we're going to have to go to combat first. Let's go to combat. Our opponent falls to 8. We'll trade Zerda here. Or our opponent can eat the shark. I think they definitely go like that, yeah. We do this now, so if our opponent has another counterspell, they don't get to make another shark. And then we get to double Zenith Flare, and our opponent needs double counterspell here. Nice opponent. GG. So, pretty good, actually. And I tell you what, that Zerda making a cost reduction on the Triome was what was able to make the Zenith Flare exactly lethal. So, yeah, niche little plays there. Okay, Jeskai cycling on the draw. And, yeah, this hand looks good. Loads of cycling lands. I think we're going to lead on Triome. And then maybe play an irrigated farmland after we get to hold up Sensor. And then we can cycle the others away. Opponent's on the big mulligan. So yeah, probably a Sulfur Falls next turn so we can hold up Sensor and then start cycling these way. Power up the Zenith Flare. Though our opponent could have a Four.Vs here. No, Paradise Druid. So maybe they're on the Neoform combo. We don't have a great answer to Neoform, and we're going to have to let our opponent do this. They probably take Zenith Flare. I wouldn't imagine, yeah, there we go. I wouldn't imagine this is too hard of a decision. See our opponent's on, though. Probably not Neoform. Against, like, more control? Control with Paradise Druid. Okay, well, we drew the additional Zenith Flare, so that makes me happy. And I think at this point, since we drew our 3rd and 4th lands, we're going to just cycle these irrigated farmlands away. Since we do want to power up Zenith Flare. Botanical Sanctum. Yeah, we'll take 2. We're going to be taking quite a beating off this Paradise Druid, I would imagine. But let's cycle. Nice. And yeah, we'll hold on to Sensor, make our opponent play around it a little bit longer. So if our opponent does nothing here, which it looks like they might be doing, I think we're just going to Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Draw 2. And then I kind of like our position. Once we find a counterspell, we'll find a removal for this Paradise Druid eventually. Oh, Niv-Mizzet. Our opponent is playing around the Sensor as well. Oh, okay. Let's see what our opponent gets. Hopefully it's not too much value. We don't want him to find like an Assassin's Trophy here. Okay, so Four.Vs, Cut, and Uro. So probably just going to have to take out this Niv-Mizzet. Cool, Niv-Mizzet, okay. So our opponent's like Four.Vsing us next turn. They're probably going to take like Hieroglyphic Illumination. There's quite a lot they could take. We'll shock. We kind of would like to get Zerda out there as well. With all of these like cycling cards, making these irrigated farmlands like free is quite good. I guess it makes them 1. But yeah, cycle irrigated farmland for 1. Pretty good. Yeah, opponent, you can have a look. We're going to cast our Hieroglyphic Illuminations after our opponent Four.Vs, so they have less information, and force them to take the Zenith Flare, which they're probably taking either way. So 2 Zenith Flares down. We might be on the Teferi win this this game. So we could Sensor. This Paradise Druid is doing a really good job of playing around Sensor, so probably just going to Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Cut is pretty dead. I guess they can kill their own Solemn Simulacrum to draw. So now we have a neutralize. It makes me feel better about another Niv-Mizzet. Sweltering Suns also feels okay. Opponent will get to draw a card, but guess we hold off for one turn. Since I'd really like... Oh, what's the odds our opponent? They get to draw 2 cards. I think we hold off. No need to rush it. Let's hold up the counterspell. We'll take 4. We'll Sweltering Suns, and then we get to hold up. Neutralize as well. Don't know why opponent didn't attack with both. Yeah, so pretty happy we held up the neutralize. Opponent's going to Uro. Do we censor this? Probably not. Do we want to just cycle this other Hieroglyphic Illuminations away? Or do we need a card advantage? I feel like we need the cast out. So we've got 2 other cast outs. Cast out's going to answer this Uro though. So the play is probably Sweltering Suns, Narset, and then if our opponent recasts the Uro, they won't get to draw off of it. So they have like Solemn draw. I guess we can play... no, yeah, they'll still get to draw of Narset either way. Since they haven't drew this turn already. Shark Typhoon seems a good way to close the game. But yeah, let's just Sweltering Suns. So 2 draw steps for our opponent to do something relevant. Okay, one of them was a Fable Passage. Narset, pretty good against Uro. Obviously, we still need something else, but it's a good start. Since they get to gain 3 life, which is good, I guess, since our plan is partly to Zenith Flare. Let's draw with Narset. Opponent's going to cycle now. Do we cast out now? We could do Teferi Tuck. I think I prefer Teferi Tuck. And then we get to contribute something to the board. Yeah, do we want another Teferi? Or neutralize? Probably a counterspell. And then let's Teferi. Tuck that away. And then between the stacks of 2 Planeswalkers, hopefully we can hold our opponent at bay. And I think we're going to cycle this Censor now, since if we hit a land drop, we'd like to play it. No land drop. And we're pretty close to double Zenith Flaring. Got a few more to go. Opponent gets to Four.Vs. But we already have our value down in the form of Planeswalkers. So they take the counterspell, in turn powering up the Zenith Flare. Paradise Druid, nice. So they're stuck with a Cut to Ribbons in hand.
Let's skip to the good part.
So we get to go land, and are we cycling the Shark Typhoon or playing it out? I feel like we're cycling it. Yeah, I think I want to cycle Shark Typhoon. It potentially leaves them open to lethal next turn. We're not going to untap any lands. Or Niv-Mizzet. Niv-Mizzet is a pain. How many counterspells do we have left? 2 neutralizes. And we potentially have like a 1/1 shark and cast out to do that. I don't think we can afford to. Let's gotta hope our opponent doesn't hit too well. Maelstrom Pulse is pretty good. They can Maelstrom Pulse the cast out. These are both sorcery speed. Gonna try and kill Teferi. So I think I like just making this as a 3/3. Get to cycle this irrigated farmland. Get to defend Teferi here. Force our opponent to Maelstrom Pulse the Teferi. But yeah, Zenith Flare is looking good. We're going to be doing it for 12. So 24 damage. Opponent's going to cut. So is that our opponent just dead? Because we can cycle the cast out as well. I think that's our opponent just dead. Let's put a pause in our end step since we can float mana with Teferi. So let's lay land. Cycle. Our opponent knows we have double Zenith Flare. So yeah, that's 26 light. That's 26 damage. Let's cycle another one just for good measure. And then Zenith Flare. We'll put a pause in our end step. Go full control. Just in case. Untap, untap. And then, yeah, let's Zenith Flare again. Good game, opponent. So Niv-Mizzet really strong. And we played through 3 Niv-Mizzets. We countered 1. Opponent got to resolve 2 Niv-Mizzets. And we still managed to pull through with the double Zenith Flare. I think our opponent took 1, actually. They took 2? Yeah, I think they took 2, so, yeah. Let's bring in Narset. I don't think we want Dovin's Vetoes. Sinister Sabotages are fine. Since we're just stopping Niv-Mizzet, really. And let's cut the Sweltering Suns. Maybe we just want to cut all the Sweltering Suns. Bring in like an answer for Niv-Mizzet. Since we're keeping in the Wrath of God, so we can sort of mop up our opponent's little creatures. Think I like it like that? Okay, on the draw against Niv-Mizzet Reborn and double counterspell all lands. I think this is okay. Having the companion definitely makes these sort of hands better. And we're going to hold on to this irrigated farmland to cycle away. Guess we'll play Hallowed Fountain first. And then Sulphur Falls gives us like perfect mana next turn. A little bit of a lag of Arena. There we go. Sorting its life out. Okay, Paradise Druid. Not too sure what's up for Arena. There we go. A bit of lag. Bad connection with the opponent, I guess. I mean, could be me, could be the opponent. Something dodgy's happening. But next turn we get to hold up double counterspell. So Niv-Mizzet turn 5 or turn 4 is hopefully going to be okay. So our opponent just probably takes one of the counterspells here. Maybe they take Zenith Flare. Okay. Odd they take the Neutralize. Probably Sinister Sabotage is like the better counterspell. Neutralize is just the more versatile one, I guess. So we shall cycle. I like how our opponent played around Sensor there. So yeah, let's not give our opponent information, I guess. So we hold up Sinister Sabotage here, or we can cycle Triome. Okay, Uro, yeah, we're definitely going to allow this. We only have 1 counterspell, so can't be afforded to use it now. I don't like counting Uro as well. I don't mind the escape to Uro, if you have the tools to do so. Okay, so opponent's leaving up, like, negate, maybe. Shocking. Opponent knows what we have. Yeah, opponent might have the negate. Or they have the mystical dispute. I think if they have mystical dispute, we feel really bad. But I guess we can just Justice Strike it, so we may as well make them mystical dispute. It's probably more likely that they have Dovin's veto. But I guess it's really weird to play in the way they are. I assume they have a mystical dispute here, but they can't get mystical dispute off of Niv-Mizzet. Okay, they are running it. So this would get to resolve either way. I guess now we're just forced to Justice Strike. What does our opponent get? Oh, they are running Neoform. Neoform and Casualties. So Casualties isn't that bad against us. Just blows up a land. So what do we like? Narset into Justice Strike. May as well Narset now. I guess our opponent gets to, with Casualties, get a little bit more value. Do they even have all of the mana? I probably should check that. Okay, they don't have double black. They need a black source. They have plenty of green. I guess Narset gets to cycle anyway. I will go grab another one. And then, yeah, we'll just strike this Niv-Mizzet. So if our opponent has a black source here, they get to Casualties. Nope. So not drawn many cycling cards. This is one of the problems with like a cycling list, though. It sort of limits your choice of sideboarding. So don't want to play out the Shark Typhoon while our opponent has a Casualties. I think I like just put Companion in hand and we can make a 1/1 instant speed. Protect this Narset. Not that she really needs protecting, but I don't think we're going to lay out an enchantment while our opponent has Casualties in hand. Just going to try and trade with his Paradise Druid. More Narsets is good. Okay, so opponent just has another Paradise Druid, so I think just Zerda can defend here. I guess our opponent could have like a Casualties again. Like if they have a black source, then they get to... Do we like care that much? Let's play out Zerda. I'd rather our opponent to Casualties now if they can. And then we get to like Narset, just get some value. Okay, so our opponent could Casualties. I think we will dig in response and see if we can find a counterspell since we have quite a few left. And what do you know? Opponent, do you have a Mystical Dispute? Your last two cards. Tell me you don't. Tell me you don't. No, they have Mystical Dispute. Okay. I think that's the second one now. Okay, so opponent gets to blow up a portion of our board. We get to play our Narset out. Let's go digging. So we can't play the Neutralize at the moment, but I still think we're going to take this. So, might cycle this. If we hit a blue source, we can hold up Neutralize. Nope. So, opponent comes swinging at us. Zenith Flare now 7 damage. I think like 11's going to be the magic number on our opponent's life. Have they taken one already? They have not, so 3 more in the list. Shark Typhoon is nice. And yeah, I think we're still going to play out lands. And make a shark here. We get to make a shark to trade with this Paradise Druid and then still hold up neutralize. And it's still getting to power up. Auto tapper. Let's make sure it's done correctly. So Zenith Flare is still powering up. I don't know how badly this is hurting our opponent, but Uro is pretty good. Narset's shutting that down. Opponent gets to gain a little bit of life. To 22. Can we kill our opponent? I guess we need to find a second Zenith Flare first. But we're getting close. I think I like... Are we just chumping with the Shark Typhoon? Opponent goes up to 25. How many cast outs have we gone past? 3. We have 1 cast out left. Another Justice Strike. Maybe it's just like cycle. I think so. Since this attack is just gaining him a little bit of life each turn. We could Zenith Flare the Uro, but that really doesn't feel worthwhile. So I think we're just making a 1-1 here. Sense is okay. We're just really trying to stall the game out and get to this Zenith Flare. I think we're just going to cast this. Sort of gain some card advantage. Nice. So our opponent is going to be able to kill Narset this turn. See if we can find like a Teferi, maybe tuck the Uro. Nope. I think we're just going to pass. We'll let Narset die and then we'll play out the next one. It's bought us quite a bit of time. Yeah, Solemn Simulacrum's fine. So, gone past 3 Shark Typhoons. So, probably leaning quite heavily on the Zenith Flare to close the game. Okay, so opponent go 5 drop, so Niv-Mizzet, we kind of have to stop that. Can pay for Mystical Dispute. Oh, nice opponent with the Dovin's Veto. I think we're going to have to stop this, though. I don't like our opponent. They get to draw a card, but I don't like them just going and getting a Niv-Mizzet there. Okay, Teferi's pretty good. Opponent can escape Uro, so we're looking at what? Teferi Narset?
Trust me, you'll thank me later.
And I think we're going to hold on to this irrigated farmland to cycle. Actually, nah, scratch that. Yeah, we'll hold on to it. But yeah, we're looking at lethal next turn with just the Zenith Flares alone. And opponent knows we have both of them. I guess they get to take one of them. But we get to dig with Narset. And we still have 2 more left in the list. No, opponent's going to take out Narset. Interesting that opponent goes with Narset. Obviously, they're trying to survive because Narset digs deeper. But Teferi overall, I'd say, is probably a better form of card advantage. So opponent's playing Uro next turn, getting to redraw a card and then redraw again. Can't kill our opponent, so I guess we're just playing out Shark Typhoon. And then this will hopefully close the game pretty quickly. And yeah, just gonna... I guess we'll cycle now. No reason to wait. So yeah, just powering up the Zenith Flare. Gonna keep going and keep going. This Uro is such a powerful card. I go on about this quite a bit, but like this is buying our opponents so much time. Just this single copy of Uro. An opponent can escape it multiple times. This is just disgusting. This card is so oppressive. I've heard people say Teferi Hero of Dominaria is oppressive, but I don't think you know what oppression is until you've played against an Uro. Okay, so opponent's going to make us sack our Teferi. So let's cycle here. Sensor has definitely run off at the moment. So do we just board wipe then Teferi? Maybe. Board wipe, our opponent gets back the Euro. I guess we could Teferi just tuck. Try and buy ourselves as much time as possible. Cycle this Triome. This will be up to 17. Guess we could Zenith Flare in the end step. We'd only get to do it for 16. What's that going to put our opponent on? 18, and we'll be attacking for 9. Well, let's see. Our opponent might be able to draw the Euro here. You have not got casualties of war. Oh, I was going to say. So I think we Zenith Flare here so we can get the extra value. We could wait. But I think we're just going to try and clock our opponent as quickly as possible. Since that's the last shark we're going to be able to make. Let's tick up. Since I think Zenith Flare is just lethal here. Yeah, it's on 16 currently. No, just Teferi. Let's cycle again. I think we've used all of our Nar sets. Sensor, let's cycle again. Come on, Zenith Flare. Nope. And if we cycle again, we won't be able to cast Zenith Flare. But, I mean, we have 9 power in the air. Because of Uro, it's going to take us another turn to kill our opponent, though. So, I'll play tap land. And pass turn. I guess we could cycle now, and if we hit exactly Zenith Flare, then our opponent's dead. But if we hit something that we can do... Do we go for it? How many Zenith Flares do we have left? 1, 2... We have 2 left in 18 cards. Yeah, we're gonna go for it. So exactly Zenith Flare, our opponent's dead. Nope. At least it wasn't something that punishes us if our opponent has hand hate. So opponent gets 1 more draw. They could have like a Maelstrom Pulse here. Take out our sharks, take away our pressure. Paralyzed Druid. Not going to change it too much since our sharks somehow fly. Okay, Hieroglyphic Illuminations. We're going to cast that, I think.
Keep up the pace.
And Zenith Flare it is. It was only a matter of time. We had 2 more left in the list. Let's smack our opponent. And I guess they could have Dovin's Veto. Like exactly Dovin's Veto. So let's cast this first. Oh, opponent! Yes! We got there in the end. 54 life. Nice. Okay, on the draw with Jeskai Cycling Control in Historic, and we're against Lewis of the Dream Den, so I don't know what this means. Our opponent could be on Pyromancer, could be on Auras. If they're on Auras, this hand does not look good at all. Narset's quite good, but we need some more early interaction. That being said, we don't have much early interaction in the main deck, so probably just going to keep this. We'll see what our opponent's on. If it's on Auras, I don't like our chances, and it looks like it might be Auras. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to cycle this Illuminations away. But hopefully Shark Typhoon can chump block for a few turns, and Narset will hopefully buy us a bit of time. SRAM. Notably, SRAM is the better of the two drops our opponent could have. Core Spirit Dancer, definitely worse since it grows in size. Cast out's pretty good. We need to wait for our opponent to tap down though. So sequencing and timing is going to be everything here. We're probably going to want to make a 1/1 and then not block and then play Narset to stop our opponent from drawing loads of cards and then block and then maybe try and find a board wipe for this SRAM. Unlikely our opponent ever taps down now. Interesting they're putting it on the Elsaid. They probably have like a Karametra's Blessing. Okay. Looks like they don't. They're just going to tap down. Opponent's not worried. So, probably... are we holding this cast out? Maybe. Okay, Sweltering Suns. Unfortunately, we don't have double red, and it wouldn't matter too much. So, yeah, just going to cycle here. See what our opponent's got. Okay, so it's going to be cycle into Narset, I think. Or are we going to have to? We're going to have to chump block, yep. Okay, yep. Like, on the upside, we can chump block again next turn with another Shark Typhoon. On the downside, our opponent's gaining 10 life, and we don't really have a way to stop this. Our opponent very likely has a Karametra's Blessing in hand and never needs to tap down now. Opponent does not need to pump up anymore. You just hold up Protection Spell here. Okay, opponent's gonna. So we can cast out and fall to 6 and then 3, 4, 5. So if opponent has like no aura, then we get to survive. And I don't really know what the alternative is. We could Sweltering Suns, but opponent can give the SRAM indestructible. We just die to the Elsaid, so probably just casting out here. And yeah, we're just dead to any pump effect. Yeah, this is going to be a matchup, I think, where Justice Strike's going to be quite good. So our opponent's got, like I said, any pump effect. We're currently taking 5 on board. Yeah, that would be a pump effect. So let's scoop it up. Aura's definitely one of our harder matchups. Okay, so how do we want to play against Auras? I feel like we want these Settle the Wreckages and we want these Justice Strikes. Dream Trawler, I feel like our opponent's just going to eat straight through that. Zenith Flare might be okay. I feel like we can still keep that in. Sweltering Suns, just the opponent's creatures get so big. Maybe we want like trim on Sweltering Suns. Like neutralizes don't feel good at all. Cut on like sensors. We cut like another neutralizer and bring in a Narset. Since if we can pin our opponent down, take away their threats, then Narset will hopefully buy us a bit of time. It'll stop our opponent at least for one turn, like cycling through loads of cards. Okay, on the play against Auras, we hope they don't have a core Spirit Dancer, because Justice Strike's not going to be too good against that, but good against Sharam. And we have a one-land hand, but we can cycle the Sensor. Probably going to mulligan this. Oh, this hand's even worse. I guess we can cycle our 2 cast outs. I don't really want to mulligan again, but we have double Settle the Wreckage. Maybe we put Shark Typhoon on the bottom. Maybe Hieroglyphic Illuminations. At least Shark Typhoon can make a chump blocker for us. But yeah, we're going to hope to draw some lands. And hope these Settle the Wreckages are going to be enough. Looks like our opponent mulliganed as well. So opponent's starting strong, yep, with the 1-drop. Okay, really wanted blue land off the top. And that's blue land. So probably cycling this other cast out. May as well just save the damage here. Maybe we're holding on to the cast out actually. Since we can make a 1/1 shark next turn and maybe block this selfless savior. Does opponent not have a core Spirit Dancer? They do not. So yeah, I think we're just gonna hold on here. So we don't have this neutralize up, but we are going to make a 1/1 and maybe just kill the Elsaid or the Selfless Savior. See what our opponent's up to. Cartouche, so we cannot stop that. So yeah, let's just kill this Selfless Savior. That is not white source, unfortunately. If we top deck a Wrath of God now, at least our opponent won't be able to protect their board. Do you want to put Companion into our hand? Or are we cycling and neutralize? I guess this reduces the cost of all of our cycling. Forces our opponent to like overextend a little bit more into the Settle the Wreckage. I feel like we just want to cycle, find some more interaction. We have plenty to do. Okay, Sentinel's Eyes. Looks like our opponent is missing quite a few land drops. We're going to have to try and use this to our advantage. So yeah, my turn. Do we just cast out now? Because if they have Karametra's Blessing... Yeah, I feel like we just cast out now while our opponent's missing land drops. And then if our opponent suits and boots this token, then Settle the Wreckage might be able to catch it off guard. Or if they don't put any other threats on the board, we could always just Teferi down tick on it. So yeah, we see the disadvantage of a list. Step 1, when it doesn't hit land drops, that's obviously going to be quite bad. And when they don't have their Saram or core Spirit Dancer, it sort of falls apart a little bit. Zenith Flare. I feel like we just want our main phase Hieroglyphic and try and hit lands for ourselves. We could just shoot this token, but I feel like the Zenith Flare is going to be better later on. And yeah, we're just going to cycle again, keep powering up the Zenith Flare. Nice. Yeah, and then down tip to Fairy looks good. Sort of unfortunate for our opponents since they're just not top decking any lands. And we just get to tuck this away. Obviously token fizzles, so it's not coming back. And double Zenith Flare, counter spells, and settles. Gonna hopefully just clear this up.
We need to move quickly.
So do we want to Shark Typhoon here? Probably cycling Shark Typhoon. We could put Companion into our hand as well. No, we'll just cycle for the maximum amount. Opponent's going for the throat. Straight for us. Yeah, that's completely understandable. When you miss that many land drops in a row, you can't be... Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I think we're just going to run it back the same as we just did. Hope that our interaction is enough. Settle the wreckages, feel really good in this matchup. Okay, sometimes it's a difficult decision and sometimes it's not. Gonna keep this. Put a neutralize on the bottom. So, gotta hope our opponent isn't like too fast out the gate. Ooh. Opponent is not scared of the Justice Strike. Lucky for them, we don't have it. Are we cycling neutralize here? Guess we could cycle the irrigate farmland. We need to find like a Justice Strike or settle the wreckage. Core Spirit Dancer. It's such a shame that we can't punish our opponent for just tapping down here. I feel like I've tapped down most turns and been very fortunate that we don't have a interactive spell as a control list. I mean, there's our Justice Strike. Do we kill this Elsaid? Maybe. I mean, it's over a 3/3 Elsaid that's drawing our opponent a card each turn, but the Justice Strike can't answer the Core Spirit Dancer anyway. Feels like one of them damned if you do, damned if you don't moments, but we might be able to punish our opponent for down ticking, keep tapping down with Teferi. I mean, all that glitters here into another enchantment might be just lethal. All that glitters. You know it. When opponent needs it, opponent's got it. And coming in for a whopping 15. Yeah, we'll take that opponent and be on our way. Okay, Jeskai cycling, and this hand's really good. Gonna hold on to this. Don't have double red, so if we're against a creature matchup, we will need to find that. Okay, Abzan. Maybe not Abzan. 4-color madness. So yeah, playing the Censor. Maybe cycling one of these cast outs. Do you want to censor this? Maybe. I kind of like censoring the Uro there. Don't really want to handle the Nissa next turn. And probably just cycling the Sweltering Suns away. This is like 4-color good stuff, I guess. So Sweltering Suns might not be its best. Opponent has the second Uro. Maybe we should have held the Censor for something else our opponent's doing. Hieroglyphic Illuminations. Triple Uro. So yeah, hindsight's 20/20, but we probably shouldn't have censored the first one, considering our opponent just has 3 of them. We'll draw some cards. So, probably not playing the Narset out yet. I'd rather have some like backup here. At least represent a counterspell. Ooh, wishing we did play Narset now. So probably just cast outing this. Probably only gets to draw one. Let's draw a card first. So opponent has 3 cards in the graveyard, and they are all Uros. So neutralize off of this. Yep. That's what we were hoping to hit. And we are paid off. So we can stop our opponent's next relevant play. Which is a Hydroid Crisis, but I think we just Wrath of God this. Our opponent can't draw any cards. Yeah, we'll tick down, get max value. Shark Typhoon feels good. Yeah, and we'll just wipe this away. Still get to hold up the Neutralize again. And then, I don't know if our opponent has Casualties of War. It's very possible they do, so we might just be... Oh, opponent. Ugh, that feels really bad. Unless your purpose was to just put a card in the graveyard. It's natural. I blank on the Narset from time to time. Probably just going to Shark Typhoon here. Since we have Zenith Flares, we probably just want to deal our opponent as much damage as possible. And then just cycle through. So opponent's Fort Seizing. Do we just make them take the Shark Typhoon? I think so. Because they might take Neutralize here to try and resolve something. But if they take Shark Typhoon, then we still have Neutralize. Yep. And Hieroglyphic Illuminations can just find us more. So yeah, I don't mind just letting them take that. So we found a second one as well. I think we're just going to untap though. I would play out the second Narset, but we don't need to find a Zenith Flare at the moment, since we know the power is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and once we cycle a little bit more powerful. Okay, so opponent just wants cards in their graveyard. So they get back an Uro, but it gains them 3 life, but doesn't do anything else. Narset is so strong against Sultai. Because all of their cards draw them cards. So we can do it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we just get to cast out. Or we could like down tick here. That might even be better. Since we have the second one. Yep, just tuck this away. And then our opponent has 1 card in their graveyard now. And we still have the Neutralize up. And our opponent has 2 cards in hand. Yeah. I think that's fine. The problem is our opponent's got to answer our Planeswalkers, get past our Neutralize, but also this 7/7 Shark is going to start smashing our opponent. So let's take up.
Keep up the pace.
Zenith Flare is not lethal this turn, I don't think. We can make it a 9, 10, and 7, so we're like 2 off. So let's just smack our opponent. And I think, yeah, if they want to kill Teferi here, they can. I think we're just going to pass turn. Do some cycling. Could have cycled the Triome beforehand, I guess, if we hit a land drop. Played the land. But I'm pretty confident in our position here. Our opponent can take out Narset or Teferi. But we get to cycle, almost kill our opponent, and then Zenith Flare should be enough.
That didn't go according to plan.
God, this deck is so satisfying. Who doesn't love drawing cards? That's why most people play Control. And we're not gonna... There's no reason to tap down here. So let's go, and we'll just pause in our opponent's upkeep. Double Zenith Flare them. With Counterspell backup. Just not waste any more time. Nice. Oh, they don't even care enough. I guess they know we have the neutralize, so we can just draw back into it. So, 4-color control, Narset felt really strong there. I guess we just want the Dovin's Vetoes as well, and the Sinister Sabotages. Dream Trawlers. I feel like control, we sort of know what we're doing in this matchup. We have a very good sideboard plan against them. I'll probably take out these Wraths and maybe trim on a Sensor since our opponent's ramping. Run it like that. Okay, game 2, and I think I like this hand. Double Narset's really good. We only have one blue source, but we can cycle. As long as we hit land drops, this hand is excellent. We paused on our opponent's upkeep from last game, so for some reason Arena doesn't check that. I think we're going to play out Triumph first. Do they have Four.Vs? Yeah, they do. That's why I like the double Narset. So I think we are just cycling some of these. We'll draw into more, make the Zenith Flare stronger. Narset for our opponent. So they give us an opportunity to resolve our own Narset.
My prowess is unmatched by my peers. Hone your prowess.
Four.Vs. I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll cycle these. We can only cycle one. We could have cycled both if we wanted to.
If you wish to surrender, keep an open mind.
So we're missing out on both our Dream Trawlers here. Teferi we're quite far away from. Probably taking the Sensor. If we don't hit land drop here, we're a little bit unfortunate. Blue land would be perfect. Opponent might have their own Shark Typhoons. They're going to Four.Vs us. I wonder what they take. No land drop, and we can't... And we're going to down tick Narset, but we can't cycle now to hit a land drop since the opponent has a Narset. I like Sinister Sabotage. At the very least, that will set up our next draw. So yeah, opponent has their own Shark Typhoon. That would have been a reason to not activate Narset. I'm going to try and kill our opponent's Shark, since Narset's quite valuable in this matchup. Opponent might have like a Fatal Push. Might be strange to keep in Fatal Push off the board. Disallow. But I think keeping Narset alive here is quite valuable. And we hit land drop. Nissa.
I will protect the virtue of this world. Harness the elements.
So we can cast out the Nissa. And then we lose our Narset. Let's leave our opponent with a 3/3. Oh, nice. Opponent has the negate. Not much we could have done against that. So that's probably left us in the back seat. Zenith Flare is not powered up enough. Yeah, I think missing a land drop and our opponent getting down the Narset, not having a sensor.
The land shall conquer you.
Nissa is very strong as well.
I still have much to learn. But thoughtfulness
Opponent's going to go digging now to get a growth spiral. Ah, it's because of the second one.
mind and body should move in unison. I have just the trick for this.
Can try and answer the Nissa. Could have done this on our opponent's upkeep, but I think if this doesn't resolve, we're done. Yeah, I think we're gonna scoop it up there, since we'll be taking 9 from our opponent that turn, and we'd have to find a board wipe, but then our opponent still has an active Nissa. So, have we learned anything from that? Maybe that we want to like cut a Dream Trawler and bring in a sensor, since stopping Narsets and Planeswalkers can be quite valuable, and we still have quite a few finishers with Zenith Flare and Shark Typhoon into Teferi. Okay, so back on the play, and if our opponent has a turn 1 Thoughtseize, we are quite resilient against that, so we're going to keep. And we can also just start cycling immediately. Yeah, here comes the Thoughtseize. Take one of these Zenith Flares. No, we're going to take our Hieroglyphic Illuminations. I think we're still cycling this one away. Maybe it's correct to cycle a Cast Out there. Since we're running 4 of both, I guess statistically it's more likely that you'll draw another Cast Out. Okay, opponent. Double Thoughtseize. Opponent's falling to 14 though, and these are 4 power each. So currently our opponents, we're going to put our companion into our hand. Running low on card advantage. So currently our opponent's sitting quite low actually. Maybe it's like an Aether Gust here. Do we put this on top or bottom? I think we decline. Putting our companion on the bottom of our deck. Opponent, that's just rude. So I like the sensor here if our opponent tries to tap out. Or we can cycle and attempt to Zenith Flare. Really want our opponent just to go Nissa here. Uro it is. So what, our opponent's like likely to have a negate. I wonder if they counter this though, since it's only 5 damage. Oh, opponent's gonna take it. So if our opponent taps down, they're dead. Nissa. So, our opponent will have the negate after this. Do we cycle and Zenith Flare for 6? If we hit a counterspell, if we hit like a Dovin's Veto, then we should have it. Gonna hope to just try and burn our opponent out here. And the Zenith Flares have gained us enough life. So our opponent has like 4 mana up here, so they could have double counterspell. Let's see what they got. Opponent's got a lot of mana available to them. I don't know if they can afford to tap down here. I mean, they can't afford to do that. I guess we'll like represent a counterspell. Dream Trawler's nice. So if our opponent has like nothing, we could win it. I guess we may be doing like our opponent's end step. Depends whether we think they're going to draw a counterspell this turn. I guess we do it in our opponent's end step and then we can like resolve a Dream Trawler. They're going for like a Hydroid Crisis here. I like our odds if they are. They are. And they're leaving up 2, 4, 5 mana. I think this is the best odds we have. Do you have a second counterspell? Oh! Go on, resolve. We're tapped down. If you've got something, you've got something. Yes! Yes. Okay, so playing that right, I think, with the Zenith Flare. Oh, I don't know. Still satisfying. I haven't Zenith Flared someone since Cycling sort of came back out with a 1-mana Fox. Howdy guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed Jeskai Control Cycling with Zerda as our companion. Not something I've originally considered putting together, but definitely something I'm willing to give a try. So what did I think of the list? I thought it was excellent. I thought Zenith Flare was a perfect tool for control. I think we really want to close the game early, and there's so many times where there's just stalemates and you've got nothing to do and you have dead cards in your matchup. And yeah, Zenith Flare helps us sort of change them non-bows into combos in a way. So sensors are something that normally in a control list you run sensors because they're good early game, but late game you can cycle them away and just get a free card. So in this list, you get that exact bonus, but it's also powering up your Zenith Flare the entire time. Shark Typhoon, every card, Shark Typhoon, Cast Out, Hieroglyphic Illuminations, Neutralize, Sweltering Suns, and Sensor, and Cast Out, sorry, all of them are excellent with Zenith Flare. I know this is like sort of self-explanatory stuff and the mana basis as well, but normally with cycling, all you're doing is getting a free card, but with Zenith Flare, you're just powering that up. And your opponent can't stall out control. You're not going to stall out this list. If you try to stall it out, we're going to top deck a Zenith Flare eventually and shoot you for a massive amount, and then that is going to be our buffer of our life total. So really difficult for opponents to tackle that. And I think you saw in a few games there, I maybe got a little bit too excited with Zenith Flare. But yeah, when you ping your opponent for 14 and then 14 again straight after, that's just exceptional. But your opponent has to tackle the Zenith Flare. They have to tackle the Teferi and they have to tackle the Shark Typhoon. All three of these cards are really diverse, different threats. Your opponent has to leave in their removal for this Shark Typhoon, but they have to worry about Teferi. And at any point, you could just top deck a Zenith Flare and ping, you're dead. So I really like this, actually. I sort of like Jeskai combo in a way, like sort of in a way that like you're sort of doing multiple different things. Your opponent has to worry about everything you're doing, and like we said, well, you can board in, your opponent can board in sideboard hate against your Zenith Flare and try and take it out with some graveyard hate, but no worries, if we see that game too, we'll just board out Zenith Flare and bring in some more like Dream Trawlers and stuff like that, ways to close the game instead. So yeah, I love the list overall. You even noticed as well, I mentioned at the beginning that we were missing some of our sideboard slots, so I think we went 4 wins and 1 loss in 5 games. The list just did exceptional. I always felt like we were in a really good position. Obviously, we did lose some of our games, and it does happen, but I felt like it was exceptionally strong, and we did it without all of our sideboard pieces, so that speaks to the power level of this list. This is definitely something that I'm going to come back and revise on the channel. And if we don't revise it, we'll just play it again in future, because I had a lot of fun playing this, and I think Zenith Flare is something that definitely needs some attention in Jeskai Control. So if you guys did enjoy the list, remember to drop the video a like and subscribe if you can be asked. If you can't be, then don't worry. I hope you guys just enjoyed playing anyway. Like I said, we have tons of stuff on the channel with our mini series of how viable is control in the historic meta. We also just have other bits happening with some standard, historic, and some drafting on the weekend. So remember to check that out. Or you can come to Twitch Radio Magic. There'll be a link in the description down below, and check it out there if you want to interact live with me, get some notifications and that. But yeah, Jeskai Cycling Control. Enough said on it. I thought a fantastic list. Hats off to the person who submitted it. Really good list they've put together. And if you guys have any suggestions for other lists or other control lists, or just best of one bits you want me to play in historic and standard, then drop them down in the comments down below and I will give them a shot. I love hearing what you guys put forward, since I am only one person, and it's really nice when other people contribute other stuff, because like this, I didn't even consider putting Zenith Flare in these lists until now. So yeah, really interesting. I'm just rambling now, going on and on and on. Let's not make this video any longer. So until next time, guys, stay safe.